Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by sort of signaling back to Colloquium, please. I'm a big fan of Cole. Something that he said in the beginning got my attention. I thought, oh, Cole, you stole our thunder. But then I thought, as we listened to him throughout the rest of the hour, no, really, we have a few more rumbles to go here. And actually, a few grumbles to come from the trenches of teaching in the classroom where students are not all the same type, not all moving forward into the landscape of completely sharing every thought as they think. But some of them, like one of my students, when I started this blogfolio assignment a few weeks ago, one of my students named her blog tagline, "I hate sharing anything." So we teach not only students that are excited by the technology, but also students who want to name their blog, "I hate publishing," actually publishing anything about myself. One more quick preface. We are presenting the outcome of a talent grant that Chris and I received last year. So before we start, I want to say a big thank you to the Faculty Center for the grant. We got a lot of mileage out of this grant. And by mileage, I'm not only talking about the national conferences where we have presented multimodal pedagogy posters and interactive pedagogy sessions and all kinds of things. We have also we've met with faculty members across the campus. We have met with staff members and people, wonderful folks at the Faculty Center. We have done a few brown bag sessions in our own program. We are now finishing up a series of blog entries and video demonstrations of the work that we do. And we are planning to produce some scholarship, traditional type scholarship, because I'm a tenure track under the gun. And also some big ideas for the next step. So our presentation, the favorite thing that came out of our talent grant engagement for the last 1 year is this phrase, a beautiful phrase called the literacy of sharing. And let me tell you what that means. As we move from teachers writing on students' paper feedback like that on the margins and writing an A or B and putting it upside down on their table, to actually writing on their work online in ways that one of their peers or 5 of their peers or the entire classroom or the entire world can see. As we make this paradigm shift from paper to online, from intimate process of providing feedback to students one-on-one during our office hours on their paper, to sharing it, I think we are responsible to teach them what we call the literacy of sharing, which is we have taught them the literacy of writing. But as we start asking them to share anything, everything, or some things, we need to also teach them what it means to share, when, how, with whom, why. They should be sharing, and they should not be sharing. So sharing doesn't mean all or nothing. It has many levels. Sharing with just a teacher, whether it's paper or online, sharing with one colleague, sharing with 5 others, sharing with the entire class, and sharing with the world. And the levels of sharing also bring levels of comfort, confidence, confidentiality, anxiety. And these are real. We cannot say, oh, now here we have the technology, so use it. Just because we have the technology doesn't mean we have to use it, or we should make our students use it. What's the purpose? What do we want them to do through the technology, with the technology? So the point of this presentation is then that we have pedagogical and also ethical responsibility to be sensitive, respectful of students' levels of comfort, levels of concerns, levels of anxiety, levels of confidence, levels of confidentiality. So we will start with the basic minimum level. But before that, I want Chris to comment on both the affordances and pitfalls of these technologies of sharing.
Sam, could you officially introduce Chris?
Thank you. Chris is my colleague, a brilliant, wonderful scholar who is a theater professional, but is teaching in the writing program at this time, as well as in theater at Suffolk Community College. And yeah, he's my wonderful colleague.
Thank you. All right, can we go to the next slide? So if you take a look at this document, this is actually a document that Sam and I created, and it goes over the benefits of using Wiki. It's got a lot of really exciting ideas on here. Now, if we just think about the technology, like going into this, I just thought, hey, wow, I have these collaborative spaces that I can start using. There are a lot of really great things that I think I could get out of it. And as we start applying them to our classes, there are all these wonderful benefits, all these great things that we can do, and it's very exciting. And here's just one number of things that you can get out of it, just thinking about the affordances. But not if we're necessarily thinking about, okay, well, you know, sensitivity to what Sam already outlined is students' comfort, comfort with sharing, comfort with what they're being asked to do. Student confidence in their own work, which is especially important, right? When we're asking them to publish, we're asking them to share. Well, you know, what do they feel about the integrity of the work that we're asking them to share? And finally, confidentiality. Just in the idea of, you know, do they understand what's being shared, how it's being shared? Are they prepared to share that material? So in reality, while, you know, we could go on, I mean, I find it very exciting. I could talk forever about all the wonderful benefits that this technology holds, but unless we can guarantee that our students are going to individually be the only people, just me as the teacher and the student, going to be the only people who see the work that we're asking them to submit in these shared spaces, well, then we really need to start thinking about a whole range of issues that start arising. The benefits to these technologies really lie in going beyond just the student-to-teacher model, going out of the private space. We can use them. I have students submit private work through Blackboard, submit things that are just meant for me to see and provide feedback on. But as we've seen throughout the course of the day, there's so much that can happen. There's a lot of potential when we start asking students to interact with each other, to work with each other, to maybe expose their work beyond partners, beyond groups, beyond the classroom, into the public sphere. So when we think about using these technologies, we really want to demonstrate how we're going to use these responsibly, how we're going to use these effectively. What's the literacy of sharing that we need to provide for our students so that we can really maximize those affordances. This is not a negative thing. We are really excited and in support of these technologies. But we really want to think about, right, what are the upsides and downsides that any of these individual levels have, and how can we make sure we're maximizing the benefits by taking a moment to think about these considerations?
So the phrase that we use is that we are critical advocates of technology. We are digital agnostics rather than evangelists. Personally, I'm extremely offended by anybody that sounds evangelical about anything. Anyway, we're not here to convert anybody or, you know, students. Okay, but let's start with the first step, which is going from instructor-only feedback to beyond that. At the instructor-only feedback that you provide on students' wikis, students' Google Docs, there are some benefits, but then like for example, it is most secure. It helps to build confidence. Students come talk to you, you talk to them. They may write about sensitive topics, about their personal lives, especially in the writing program. Students write personal stories and essays and narratives. They write about people that they don't like. They write about people that are dead. They write about people that, and so on, right? So it is secure, and they need to develop that confidence to tell stories, to express emotions, to use writing as a therapy, and all that private to public range of expression. But at the same time, it's good for critical and sensitive commenting. We can comment on students' work and say this is not working. The introduction is really should be deleted. We don't want to say that in public, but we can say, and we do say, in private. But only limiting ourselves to the individual instructor-to-student feedback also doesn't take advantage of the entire range of affordances, the new affordances that the technology allows. So we shouldn't be just using the technology to do what you used to do when we turn the paper upside down. So the next stage is peer review. It is a matter of developing student comfort. When there's just two of them working together, over the course of the first few weeks, they develop that level of comfort. And we need to make sure that we provide them the guidelines, rationales, resources, and support to make them provide each other really substantive feedback. Otherwise, they'll just say, cool. It helps them to build trust, confidence, and the confidence not only to share, but also to comment on each other's work. But at the same time, we ought to be careful that this can be This can be less secure than instructor-only review. It can still be very limited audience, so they don't have much audience if you compare with a broader audience. And it can have what we call the procrastinator effect, which is if a student is absent in a pair, then the other student can't do anything. The next level would be students providing group feedback. And this involves the challenge, increasing challenge of maintaining that level of confidence as the audience expands. The benefits would be students would get multiple perspectives from a group rather than just one partner, and they can have engaging discussions about those different perspectives. It does provide a safety net from absentee reviewers, so that even if one person is absent in a group of 4, 3 can continue to discuss and provide feedback. But the downside would be then it has less comfort sharing comments. Students may not instantly feel confident to comment on each other's work, and they may also not want to write about sensitive topics or say anything that may be sensitive in group settings. The next stage is looking at the class as a community. This introduces yet another challenge, confidentiality. We can't continue to comment in the same way that we would in an individual setting or even a pair setting when we go entire class. There may be group dynamics. The benefits are greater audience awareness, more samples to look at, to learn from. Students look at as the comments that we make on other students' papers, and they learn how to provide similar substantive comments. And the fact that they can see more models and more samples means that they are better able, and they develop the confidence as reviewers. But we ought to be more careful about harsh comments as the audience expands. And there may be chances of less meaningful peer review because students also don't want to say much when they know everybody else is reading. And finally, when we go from class to publishing everything, then it really introduces a conundrum that we have not yet solved. In writing program, in what we call the Rhetoric and Composition Studies, we always distinguish between process and product. But now, with these new technologies, does the process become product when we ask students to share and publish it? Are students comfortable to share their thoughts as they think? Should they? When? Why? Should we make any assignment require students to say what they are thinking? What about just talking to each other? Can they generate ideas without having to post it on Twitter? So these are the questions that become really, really philosophically, pedagogically, and ethically important as we move from the class beyond the class. So we ought to be really, really careful about sharing unfinished products, because there will arise a lot more issues of anxiety, confidence, confidentiality, and so forth. So we have a few. We want to conclude with some advice for the rest of us. We know that not all of us, the advice that the suggestions that we offer here may not be as relevant in chemistry and biology as they do in writing, but wherever writing is involved, thinking and sharing ideas and publishing is involved, we hope you will get something out of it too.
Okay. All right. So I'm sure I only have a moment here. I'm going to go quickly. The main ideas that we're talking about, some of the things that we've discovered through what we've studied. First of all, simply just laying things out for the student. It's almost like an idea of transparency. Helping students to make informed decisions, understanding what they're going to be doing. It's like the idea I saw before about how the public button existed. They had private, but they could choose to go public, which is such a great thing. So why should they go public, right? What are the things that come along with making a blog public? How public may ideas go? Helping them understand the objectives. Why are we asking them to do it in the first place? Right? Understand what the level of sharing is, how far these ideas might be disseminated. What's the potential audience? What's the potential reach of the work that we're asking them to share? Also understanding the purpose of any feedback that we're giving at the particular level. Why are we asking them to work together? How can they work together in a meaningful way? How can they take the feedback they get and use it in a meaningful way, not just as some kind of critical comment that you're not sure what to work with. Providing guidelines, providing standards, things like rubrics, of course, help set that up, but also allowing students the option to opt out. As I think we saw with the public and private before, most students, if not all, tend to want to opt in. And also, again, clarifying the value of critique, teaching them the literacy of sharing. being careful, things we've already said about harsh comments. Also ideas of like, discrimination and bias, but it also gives us an opportunity to teach about ideas like diversity, of global citizenship, to open up the conversation, to expand it, to be able to show what our ideas can reach, to bring in other ideas. I think we're out of time, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.